So I know you have four specific mindfulness training programs. Could you go into those a little bit and how those can help people with the mental aspects of the world that we live in?
So, without getting too much into the details, basically they start from two different perspectives. There are people who need to start by activating their bodies. So they are neglecting their physiological life. They are very distant from their physiology. They're very distant from their physical energy. And so the programs start by addressing that standpoint. And within those programs, I have a variety of them, some of them which takes place live within live events, and some of them which take place through technology. So there is an app, for example, that I've co-created called Xing AI Coach. And we use AI to coach you into moving all
Hmm.
kinds of movement, flexibility, cardio, strength, and so on and so forth. Then there are other programs which address from the mental part for people who are already activating the body, but somehow it still didn't bridge the gap between the mental well-being, whether they have very high levels of stress or they have some specific problematic like anxiety disorder or panic disorder and so on. So we come from the mind side. And then the other two programs, they are more specific to people who have very high level performance wishes. So professional athletes or people that have a very specific performance field. And as you know very well, sometimes actually to pursue the ultimate performance in a very narrow field is not ideal from the standpoint of well-being and longevity.
Hmm.
It might actually be detrimental to well-being and longevity. But there is a clear purpose for that. I need to win my gold medal, and to do that, I need to hyper optimize a certain performance in a certain field in a certain moment. Although that may have an opportunity cost in terms of overall well-being. One concept that overrides all this, which I'd like to touch on, is the concept of energy, which I find very interesting because in all the ancient texts, there is always this mention of energy, energy, energy. In Chinese, it's called qi,
She.
life energy.
Hmm.
And very often people think, it's some kind of metaphysical mumbo jumbo that doesn't really exist. But you know very well that when you go to a doctor and you say that you don't feel well, the first thing they'll ask you is, how's your energy? Do you feel full of energy or do you feel no energy? So those metaphors of life force and life energy are nothing more than to try to say, on a holistic way, when we look at you as a body, mind, and spirit as well, if we want to touch that element as well, you feel your energy and you feel when you're full of energy or when you're devoid of energy, and even just having the flu drastically reduces your energy level. If you ask somebody with the flu, do you have a lot of energy? They will for sure say no. So this ability to become mindful of your energy and to just feel when your energy is going in the wrong way and understand why, that is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful effects of any kind of practices. Because automatically you become, in a way, your own doctor, not
Hmm.
on a problem level, but on a prevention level, because energy usually starts to drop way before you actually get unwell, whether it's mentally unwell or physically unwell. So if you can pick it up and understand where it comes from and make the right adjustments, very often it prevents a lot of worse things from occurring.
Yeah, a lot of times I was speaking with a doctor before this, and we were saying how symptoms are really just calls for change. Symptoms are your body saying something's off here, please pay attention. Pain is that way for the body to say, really pay attention. This isn't going to be pleasant, but I need you to change for me to get us back into a homeostasis and a balanced place that is health. But for many, I think the concept is we've normalized, poor energy, and we find it hard to respond to the symptoms. We'd rather suppress them. How do we lean into the pain, into the fear of change sometimes, and other, ways that we resist? How do we combat that more so and be able to not just run away from it in the way we have in so many things that we do in medicine and health?
Actually, I think that you've touched on a very interesting point, is acceptance of low levels of energy.
Mm.
I would venture even further, and I challenge sometimes, especially some high profile people who I work with, um, who view this low level of energy almost as a badge of honor. It's a
Yes.
proof of success. And think about it. You meet them and you say, how do you feel? I'm exhausted. I'm jet lagged. I sleep 3 hours. I'm a successful person. Okay. And I challenge this by saying, real success, first of all, is determined by how you feel. If you feel awful and with low energy, you are not successful, regardless of your bank account or any other variable. Okay. But secondly, even if we want to measure your pure performance, real performance is performance which is sustainable over time. Real performance is not performance where you squeeze every drop out of yourself until there is nothing more to squeeze. And then something gives up, as you know, whether you get physically unwell, arrhythmias and all kinds of physiological disease, whether you get mentally unwell, burnout, depression, or whatever else, something will eventually give up. Sometimes physically and mentally you hold it together, but then you break down emotionally. And so what happens is relationships fall apart. So something eventually gives up within this triumvirate of body, mind, and spirit or emotions. So the idea is to have sustainable performance that lasts for long and possibly for a lifelong period of time. And sustainable performance does not come from that attitude. Sustainable performance comes from an attitude where every day I'm cultivating my energy by engaging my body, my mind, and my spirit, my emotions into perhaps little practices, but each one counts maybe 10%, but all together, they create a 100% recipe of caring for my personal ecosystem. I think that that's the way in which we have to view this journey towards well-being or towards maintaining our well-being for a long period of time. And in Shaolin, the old texts, to again mention these old texts and how they bridge to the modern scientific outlook, they are never about longevity. They're about prolonging quality of life.
Mm.
The idea is never about, try to live 10 years more. Try to live until the last day, ideally, actively, brightly, joyfully engaged, and so on.
This really hits on a subject I talk about a lot in modern medicine is this idea that we've elongated life but prolonged suffering. You get the chronic disease at 40, and yes, you could still live till 70, but each year will be a little bit worse. Will you'll need a little bit more medication, a surgery mixed in there, one or two, some help getting around, ending up in a nursing home, probably, where you can't do too many things yourself, and that quality goes incredibly down.